Welcome to The Critique. Today I am bringing another episode of Afua Rose the Manslayer and her moist male supporters. Today we will discuss two subjects: the feminist movement and the elephant in the room. Child abuse by child alienation, usually from the father of that child. Afua Rose aka Afua Speaks claims in all her videos women are believed. I already made a video highlighting that male sexual abuse is on the rise, with cases to prove. Check my videos for proof of that. Now let's examine the feminist movement and child alienation, which is a growing concern.
Quite often, I see discourse about liberal feminism and even get people asking me every now and then, what is liberal feminism exactly and why is it bad? I thought feminism was good. Liberal feminism is mainstream feminism. It's the dominant narrative of what feminism is. It celebrates women CEOs and Kamala Harris as VP and girl bosses. What's wrong with that? So much. So much. Liberal feminism thinks that what cis, straight, white, upper class men have is good. And it wants cis, straight, upper class white women to have that as well. And the way for these select few women to achieve that kind of power is to ignore and perpetuate oppression against everyone else. The suffragette movement, for example, is a classic illustration of liberal feminism because it advocated for white women to have exactly what white men had, which was the right to vote at the time, while completely discarding and actively continuing the oppression of people of color, Black people, Indigenous people. It doesn't aim to change or deconstruct our system at all. It only aims to maintain it, but with more diversity. Hence the, oh my god, Kamala Harris is VP, girl boss, but let's ignore the fact that, first off, anyone going into politics, and especially someone who's reached the status of VP, is really not for the people. Let's also ignore the fact that she's a cop-loving, transphobic, horrible person, and that nothing liberating or just will ever come from the US government. Just because it's a woman of color bombing another country doesn't mean she's still not bombing another country. In liberal feminism's strive to attain what the people in power have, it fails to see that what the people in power have is not good. It completely fails to connect the pieces on how our current socioeconomic structure is what's causing inequality. But nah, meritocracy. Women should also be allowed to exploit and oppress other people. If we can just repackage certain types of discrimination and exploitation to be actually empowering, that will solve things. Which is a fucking disease, because now we see teenage girls waiting till the moment they turn 18 to start an OnlyFans. And then people are encouraging them and telling them that, yeah, it's totally liberating and empowering to sell your body in any capacity. But especially in one that reinforces and relies on misogyny. That's a whole other rant for another day, though. But yeah, that's liberal feminism. It's basically just no critical thinking, head empty, just vibes, girl bossing. There's a reason it's become the mainstream feminist narrative.
Black feminism is a philosophy that centers on the idea that Black women are inherently valuable, that Black women's liberation is a necessity not as an adjunct to somebody else's, but because our need as human persons for autonomy. 1. The Combahee River Collective, 1974 to 1980, a group of Black feminists, spoke on how Black women are constantly and simultaneously fighting this ongoing battle of multiple oppression from all angles. Within the Black feminism's Combahee River Collective statement of 1977, they spoke on how difficult to separate race from class from sex oppression because in our Black women's lives they are the most often experienced simultaneously. Combahee River Collective Statement, pg 504. The Combahee River Collective articulated this interlocking system of oppression based on sexism, heterosexism, racism, and classism due to the lack of basic human rights provided to Black women in comparison to other groups, such as white women. All of this is crucial to the political beliefs of Black feminism due to their difference among other groups, as they tackle additional struggles don't necessarily need to fight for. Black feminism is the fight for recognition as human beings who just want the same treatment and rights as everyone else. White women fighting for feminism was different from black women fighting for black feminism, simply because they are only needing to address one oppression, sexism, versus an entire range of oppression, like black women. Therefore, the black feminists of the Combahee River Collective aimed for an inclusive, and not an exclusive, movement because the major source of difficulty in our political work is that we are not just trying to fight oppression on one front or even two, but instead to address a whole range of oppressions. We do not have racial, sexual, heterosexual, or class privilege to rely upon, nor do we have even the minimal access to resources and power that groups who possess any one of these types of privilege have. Race, gender, and class discrimination are all aspects of the same system of hierarchy, which Bell Hooks calls the imperialist white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Due to their interdependency, they combine to create something more than experiencing racism and sexism independently. The experience of being a black woman, then, cannot be grasped in terms of being black or of being a woman, but must be illuminated via intersectionality, a term coined by legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw in 1989. Intersectionality indicates that each identity, being black and being female, should be considered both independently and for their interaction effect, in which intersecting identities deepen, reinforce one another, and potentially lead to aggravated forms of inequality. A black feminist lens in the United States was first employed by black women to make sense of how white supremacy and patriarchy interacted to inform the particular experiences of enslaved black women.
Let me explain. So the women's Penn swim champion is held by a male. And the highest female winner ever on Jeopardy is actually a male. Also, the female who holds the record in women's weightlifting, that's a male. And the woman of the year, that's also a male. What am I missing?
I think feminism is the worst thing that ever happened to women. Our job used to be no job. We had it so good. And then all these women had to show off and be like, we could do it. We could do anything. Bitch, shut up. Don't tell them the secrets.
Do you know Gloria Steinem? Here, let me give you a hint. So I was reading an online article to which I came across something that I didn't know about Gloria. It talks about Gloria's new book, My Life on the Road, recounting her life, journeys, and travels, but look at the bottom paragraph. What is often missed or mischaracterized, however, is the work she did as a CIA agent. Steinem was a spook. Confused, I decided to dig a little deeper. Black feminism, the CIA, and Gloria Steinem. What follows is a fact sheet about Gloria Steinem's operations against the various social and political movements in America, particularly her role in creating a hateful and virulent strain of black feminism that attacks black men while partnering with the white establishment. Steinem first came across the radar of black men when she put a book called Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman by Michelle Wallace on the cover of Miss Magazine, to which she controlled. Let's read on. The book was written by a black feminist and activist, quote-unquote, named Michelle Wallace, who came out of nowhere. She was in her early 20s, yet she was being touted as the leader of black feminism. In the book, Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid for supporting black men. She called black revolutionaries chauvinist macho pigs and advised black women to go it alone. Go it alone? Do it alone? I don't know. But peep what Gloria said! Gloria Steinem said that Wallace's book would define the future of black relationships, and she pushed hard to make sure the book received massive publicity. Define the future of black relationships? What's the bottom line? The bottom line is the so-called black feminist movement was created and manipulated by the CIA from the very beginning. The only difference between black revolutionaries and black feminists on this issue is that black revolutionaries know they were infiltrated and manipulated, but black feminists are still unwilling to admit that they were infiltrated and manipulated, largely because they are highly invested in the hateful brand of black feminism. It is now a central part of the culture of black women, and this fact has led to the destruction of the black revolution and the complete distortion of black relationships, and the CIA had a direct hand in creating this situation. So black woman, Gloria Steinem, your American journalist, feminist, social political activist, and CIA agent, she was used to cause disunity in the black family through the use of feminism. Remember that book we read earlier, the one on the Black Myth by Michelle? She said that would be the future for black relationships. Nothing positive in that book was written about the black men. They were putting them down. So the next time you think about supporting her, ask yourself.
Now let's look at child alienation, which happens most in the black community, with a growing number of black single parents. Black women alienate the father from seeing the children, usually on purpose to spite the man. Because Afua Rose refuses to speak on this, I will, as this is a growing issue around the world, not just with black women, but women of all races. Definition of child alienation, and I quote, "While there is no single definition, Kafka uses the term alienating behaviors to describe circumstances where there is an ongoing pattern of negative attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors of one parent or carer that have the potential or expressed intent to undermine or obstruct the child's relationship with the other." How does an alienated child act? Alienated children typically appear rude, ungrateful, spiteful, when cold toward the targeted parent, and they appear to be impervious to feelings of guilt about their harsh treatment. Gratitude for gifts, favors, or child support provided by the targeted parent is non-existent. Parental alienation is a set of strategies that parents use to undermine and interfere with a child's relationship with his or her other parent. This often, but not always, happens when parents are engaged in a contested custody battle. There is no one definitive set of behaviors that constitute parental alienation, but research with both parents and children has revealed a core set of alienation strategies, including badmouthing the other parent, limiting contact with that parent, erasing the other parent from the life and mind of the child, forbidding discussion and pictures of the other parent, forcing the child to reject the other parent, creating the impression that the other parent is dangerous, forcing the child to choose, and belittling and limiting contact with the extended family of the targeted parent. Parents who try to alienate their child from his or her other parent convey a three-part message to the child. I am the only parent who loves you and you need me to feel good about yourself. The other parent is dangerous and unavailable. Pursuing a relationship with that parent jeopardizes your relationship with me. Parental alienation, PA, refers to a situation in which a resident parent, usually but not exclusively, turns their child against the non-resident parent, intentionally or unintentionally, resulting in the child's supposed desire to reject all contact with that parent. There is still much debate among medical and psychological experts as to whether this behavior pattern constitutes a syndrome, often referred to as parental alienation syndrome, PAS, which was initially described by Dr. Richard Gardner, R. A. 1989, Recommendations for Dealing with Parents Who Induce a Parental Alienation Syndrome in Their Children, Journal of Divorce and Remarriage, 28, 3/4 1-23. The question, why should children who were initially close to both parents suddenly seek to reject one of them?
I don't know who needs to hear this message, but listen up close. To all the men out there that are trying to rise, trying to better their lives, trying to become better men, and you have a negative woman around you that constantly feeds negativity into your soul, you will never be able to achieve your goals. You will never be able to be focused, and you'll never be able to become a winner. You have to cut people off, regardless if you've been with them for years. You have to cut people off to get to the success at the top, because not everybody's going to understand your journey. Everyone's going to tell you that you've changed. You're this, you're that, you're that, you're this, when all you've done is elevate your mind. How can you be the same if you've elevated? Tell me. Stay away from the negative woman who always brings you down mentally. Effects of parent alienation on the child. So, parent alienation is a form of emotional child abuse. It's emotional child abuse. Stop telling us to not speak about these things when this is child abuse. All you people that say you love children, you lot will speak up for rapists, you'll speak up for pedophiles, you'll speak up for anything. Let's talk up for the children that are going through child abuse. I'm not staying silent for children going through child abuse. Let's not stay silent for children going through child abuse. Let's not do that. Because that means that you lot are enablers of children being mentally abused. And I'm not with none of that. I'm not with none of that. I'm not with no pedophilia, no rape, no flipping child abuse. I'm not with none of that. So let's speak up. Parent alienation is a form of emotional child abuse. The potential impact of this abuse on the child's life can be devastating. Some of the frequently listed effects of parent alienation
clause that will always show up with this particular type of pathology, cross-generational coalition with a narcissistic borderline parent, and will show up in no other pathology. No other pathology in all of mental health will produce this set of 3 symptoms. The first one is attachment system suppression toward a normal range parent. The child is rejecting a normal range parent. It's really weird. Now we're in attachment pathology, and that says there's pathogenic parenting somewhere. Second symptom is a set of 5 narcissistic personality traits in the child's symptom display. The child is showing 5 specific narcissistic symptoms: grandiose judging of the parent, a sense of entitlement, the parent's supposed to meet my needs, an absence of empathy for the parent, haughty and arrogant attitude towards the parent, and a splitting, a demonization of the parent. I call these the psychological fingerprints of control on the child by a narcissistic parent.
The professionals whose paths crossed yours. There is a saying, my way or the highway. And on April 19, 2013, you literally took to the highway with your 2 daughters because you did not get your way in the family court proceeding. And those 2 children remained missing for 944 days. The family is the cornerstone of our society. I'm not a psychologist, a social worker, or an expert on child development. I am, however, a mother, a grandmother, and a judge. I believe without hesitation that our community, our children, your children, need and deserve the guidance and love that a father brings to their lives. So, as to the conditions of your probation, first, you will serve 250 days in the Dakota County Jail. You will receive credit for 133 days actually served. By my tally, you have 34 days to serve on the original term of confinement, and you will be taken into custody today to serve the balance of this confinement period. You will serve 15 days in jail during each year of your probationary term, and your 15-year jail sentence will begin on November 18 of each year, the day the girls were recovered, beginning in 2017. So you will surrender to the Dakota County Jail at 8 a.m. to serve 15 days on each of the following days: November 18, 2017, November 18, 2018, November 18, 2019, November 18, 2020, November 18, 2021, and November 18, 2020.
Let's not make this into all men are bad. There are bad women also who do bad things. I am here to highlight the wrongs of women toward men. My intent is to bring balance. That I will do. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification and comment. See you in the next video.